Everybody, welcome to another edition of Conference Carolinas Chats. We got a unique one today, an area that maybe a lot of people wonder what they do. And, so we wanted to have a couple of our faculty athletic representatives on to kind of talk about what a FAR does and explain how important that role is within the NCAA framework and more importantly, the Conference Carolinas framework. Today, we have Dr. Julia Beeman from Belmont Abbey and Dr. Brenda Cates from Mount Olive. How are y'all doing today?
Great.
We appreciate you taking the time to join us. I'm gonna give you kind of both the same question, but when you started in this role, how did you kind of get involved? And was it out of nowhere? Was this something you wanted to be involved with on your campuses? Dr. Beeman, we'll start with you.
Thanks. So yes, I would say it was pretty much out of the blue. Back in the summer of 2007. The FAR at the Abbey had resigned. So the President Thierfelder contacted me and asked if I was interested. I had only been a faculty member at the Abbey for a year, but had spent that year as the cheerleading coach. So I had become somewhat familiar with the athletic department and so forth. And I think just Dr. Thierfelder, I think saw something in me, a desire to support our student athletes, a sense of enthusiasm for the Abbey in general, and asked if I would be willing to take the position. And I said, of course.
Dr. Cates, was it much of the same for you?
Yeah, it was very similar for me as well. Our former FAR, she had stepped down, and I was actually approached by the athletics director about the FAR position, and very much like Julie, he knew I'd been the tennis coach when Mount Olive initially transitioned to 4-year. I'd been the women's tennis coach, and I've always just remained involved with athletics, and I enjoy working with the student athlete population. So he approached me very much out of the blue about the position, and I had no idea what the position entailed. But I said yes, and it's been a great opportunity to work with our student athletes.
Staying with that, what does the position entail? What is an FAR? How do you see it each? Do you see it, Dr. Beeman? How do you tell people about what an FAR does?
So the, the official response is the NCAA gives us three primary responsibilities: student athlete well-being, overseeing academic integrity of the athletics department, and then institutional control of athletics. So what that does is make us the eyes and ears of the president. So we report in this position, even though we're faculty members, we report directly to the president. So I don't report to the provost or the athletic director. I need to remain completely objective, even though I have great working relationships with both offices, so that I can be the additional eyes and ears for the president with regard to all things athletics. So it varies from campus to campus. Brenda can tell you more about when we talk about the Fellows Institute for FARs that Division II started. Brenda was in the first class, and they created a model FAR document that came out with some, best practices for FARs, but it's still based upon the unique culture of every institution. In Divisions 1, 2, and 3, the position can vary a great deal. So that's actually, that flexibility is kind of fun because it means that we can adapt and roll with whatever our student athletes, our faculty, our coaches, and the rest of campus need us to do. So we just kind of jump in and do what makes it best for everyone, all the constituents on campus.
And Dr. Cates, that was a perfect segue. She led you in, really. She didn't need me to lead you in, but she led you into, talking about all that. How do you see it on your campus? Can you expound a little bit on what she was just alluding to?
Yeah, I can, and Julie was spot on. She hit those 3 prongs: the institutional control, the academic integrity, the student athlete well-being, and it does vary from campus to campus. I've joked that when I first became FAR back in 2003, very few Division II institutions had full-time compliance coordinators. So I have joked with fellow FARs from that time frame that we really weren't FARs, we were really compliance coordinators. We learned very much about certifying student athlete eligibility, and there's some of us who I think came through at that time frame that probably do more with that than other FARs do. That's okay. You define the role on your own campus in terms of what fits for you within those three prongs. I'd say one of the things on my campus that I try to do, especially with the, like Julie said, we are the liaisons. I say a lot on my campus and try to explain to my faculty that I'm the liaison between the athletic side of the house and the academic side of the house. So in that role, I try to attend our coaches staff meetings. I attend those, and the coaches, I can inform them and communicate with them about what's going on the academic side that may impact them. I attend the STAC meetings, so I have some interaction with the student athletes and can inform them about issues as well. And then obviously attending the faculty meetings, I have their ear as well if there's something that the faculty needs to be aware of in terms of what's going on the athletic side of the house. So I really try to work hard with those three groups to really be there for communication, make sure everybody kind of knows what's going on. And that's how I see my role primarily on my campus in terms of intertwining those three pieces.
So basically, it just means y'all got a lot going on. Is really what there's a lot that goes into this role. And adding more to that is that you take on other roles as part of these responsibilities. And Dr. Beeman, one thing you've been doing of late, it's been very vital to Conference Carolinas, has been helping with the assessment and planning committee that was kind of basically formed last spring. What has that process been like? And, how fun has it been kind of really fun maybe, but also delving into some tough minutia and trying to get the logistically things the right way for Conference Carolinas?
Right. So yes, we've been working since spring and throughout the summer, and it's been intense, but it's been a great opportunity to learn more about the details of how the conference operates and how individual sports operates. I mean, we've looked at, sport regs, and what I think one of the things that has been the most interesting to me is because there are a number of positions represented on the committee, and we've had very little conflict in terms of arriving at the direction that we want something to go, right? Bylaws, constitutions, rules, etc., that we've all been pretty much on the same page, which, to have that confirmed was really quite exciting. And I learned a lot. I wasn't able to contribute much to some of what we did, but I really appreciated learning more about not only what our coaches do and what you all do as a staff for the conference, but what our student athletes even have to know and process and be aware of. So yeah, very interesting.
You're right. There's a lot that most people have no idea what goes into it, and you're right. Even me at the conference office, we're learning. Jill in our office, our assistant commissioner Jill Weston, can tell you that as well, because I know she kind of is liaison. She can tell you there's a lot that goes into everything. So it's really special to hear all about all of that. And Dr. Cates, speaking of unique roles, one of the big things you do, it's an incredibly important role as well, but it's on with the NCAA, with the management council. And you've probably heard there's a few things going on right now in the NCAA, whether it's COVID, whether it's NIL or anything like that. Can you talk about how important that role is and how your role with the management council, and also how that goes into working with your institution, but also Conference Carolinas as a whole?
Right. Well, yeah, it's been an interesting year. This is actually my second term serving on the management council, and Julia served on the management council as well, so she's definitely aware. But since I was appointed in January, we have not had any in-person meetings. Everything's been done virtually. And as you all know, COVID-19 has been at the forefront of every meeting that we have had. with all the blanket waivers that came out initially with, the hope that we would have spring championships, and then that certainly did not come to pass. And normally the management council has quarterly meetings, but during the course of everything that's been going on with COVID, there was a period of time where between management council and I also serve on the legislation committee that we were literally having weekly calls because things were changing so quickly. And I can't say enough good things. And Julie knows that the NCAA staff that we work with, the Division II staff, Terry Maritza, they were just phenomenal to work with. And very much like Julie's talking about the assessment group, the management council at the forefront of everything that we did, everything we voted on was putting the student athletes' interests at the forefront of every single decision that was made. So a lot of the blanket waivers that came out of our discussions, a number of the exceptions that came out of our discussions, everything was putting the student athletes' health and safety at the forefront of all of that. And some people may not realize how active a voice that the National SAC also has with the Management Council. So on all of our calls, we had National SAC reps participating, and very much their views and their ideas really helped shape some of the policies that came out of those meetings that we've had. So it's just been a very different time serving on the Management Council compared to what it was previously. And then as you alluded to, Brian, you've got the NIL legislation that's going to be voted on in January. So you can imagine there, from that. Previously, when we looked at some other big issues in Division II, I would say kind of a normal time frame from conception to voting on it in legislative form, I would say a 2 to 3 year process. When we did path to graduation legislation and we saw all the feedback from all of our different constituent groups, that was at least a 2-year process. NIL, because of what some of the states have voted on, we really had to speed that up. And it was impressive to see how well we put the package together in going from conception to all the feedback that we were receiving from our different constituent groups, including conference offices, the individual institutions, and to get everything in legislative form in literally less than a year's time was pretty phenomenal for Division II to put that package together. So, and I would say in addressing your other questions about my role in Management Council and how that fits in with the institution and the conference, I'll talk about the conference first. I am Conference Carolina's representative to the Management Council. Every conference has a representative, and we also have some at-large members as well. So for me being on the Management Council, that is first and foremost what I have to keep in mind is how do I serve the conference in this role. So I'll have conversations with Chris about these are the issues that are coming up at our meeting, and just to make sure, because even though, my institution may have one idea about something, it's not about just representing my institution, I'm representing the conference. So I need to know what the various views are across our conference institutions, and then I'm a representative of those interests. From an institutional level, it is nice being on the Management Council, having that insight and having that knowledge that I can take back to my campus and go, well, this is why this blanket waiver was enacted for COVID, or this is why this exception was put into place. I can be a sounding board and really offer a little bit better understanding of the rationale. Sometimes we lose the sight of why. It's always, oh, the NCAA did so-and-so, and I always say the NCAA is us. So when we talk about the reasons and the rationale for the decisions that are made, I think that in my role on the Management Council helps me bring that message back to the campus, and hopefully helps me bring that message back to the conference.
Oh, very, very, it's a lot. Obviously, as we were talking about, it's just a lot going on. It's a ton to keep up with right now. But I think the key things you're hitting on, that both of you are hitting on, is that obviously collaboration's important. Student athletes are the most important thing, and that's why you probably do what you do or took on this role in general. I know you all love collaborating together among you FARs, but at the same time, when you look back at some of your favorite memories in your role, what do you say to people, Dr. Beeman? How do you tell people why you do this?
Wow. Just getting to work with the student athletes at a different level is one of my most favorite things, getting to know them outside the classroom. I have a lot of great memories, and I feel, we all want to feel as though we're contributing to something greater than ourselves, and as Brenda mentioned, I served on management council, and when you're a council member, you are also given a committee assignment on a national NCAA committee, and so mine was the Committee on Women's Athletics. And CWA is very involved in a number of things. One of them is the Emerging Sport Program. So, we were, as a group, we were the ones that listen to the different sport associations come forward and say, this is why we want this sport to move forward as a championship sport in the NCAA, and to be able to open up those opportunities for our female student athletes was really gratifying and exciting, And the other thing that the CWA does is the Women of the Year Award, the national, and so reading through all of those applications from all three divisions, we have some phenomenal young women out there, and it's just crazy that we have to pick one, But it really, it does, it just motivates you to help these kids reach their potential and just know that they're going to leave their institutions and do great things. So, as several years ago, the NCAA had a tagline that, every year 40,000 student athletes go pro in something other than their sport. And that has never left me. That is, always what I try to encourage our students to do. Love your sport, be the best at your sport, but don't forget what life will be like afterward. And that's, one of the other things that as FARs, we try to talk to our student athletes about is life after competition, right? When they leave college and they graduate, that can be a difficult transition when it's been so much a part of their life. And so that's another area in which FARs can contribute as well.
And you're exactly right. And another tagline over Division II went over the years was keeping life in the balance. It's still something that's talked about today, but make Division II yours is where it is now. But that I always love that tagline specifically for the reasons you said. Myself as a former Division II student athlete, it's really special to think about because I'm doing something else. I'm working in sports, but it's something else. So it's really special to think about. And Dr. Cates, as you talk about that, how do you relay that to people? What are some of your favorite memories, or why you do what you do?
I have a lot of memories, but I'm going back, Brian, to when I first became FAR in that timeline in 2005. That was when Division II was first going through its branding initiative. I chose D2, and it was such an exciting time to be a part of Division II, to see it grow into its own, so to speak. And that was when the FAR, we first started the Division II FAR Fellows Institute, and to be a part of that inaugural class, I'm still good friends with several of my fellow FARs, many of them who have retired now, but we're still in touch. And for us to be able to come together as FARs and really have a voice and recognize that we play an important role in our institution, at the conference level, at the national level, that to me is something that was very, very meaningful to come in at that time. And as you already said, as we progressed through that branding initiative, our tagline did become life in the balance. So to be a part of seeing that life at the balance legislation go through, and then later on when I served on the academic requirements committee, to see the path to graduation legislation go through as well. So a lot of meaningful milestones for me during my tenure as FAR. And I piggyback on what Julie said, probably for me, the highlight of all the years, I have to go back to 2008 when Samantha Mitchell was a Woman of the Year finalist from the university, and just getting to work with her and, you know, to work with all of our student athletes that are just exceptional. I mean, I guess year to year, the highlight for me are the postgraduate scholarship nominations that we submit, because you really do get to see the best of our student athletes and work with them in putting together the information that they need, and then finding out that we've had a postgraduate scholarship recipient, which Sam was, and she became a Woman of the Year. She was our SAC, National SAC representative. So just amazing student athletes, and then you get the opportunity to see them after they graduate to go on to even bigger and better things. So it's just exciting to be a part of that and just see how things have changed and how things have progressed. And now we are making yours. So we're seeing what we can do to help that happen.
And this has been really special. I can't thank you enough for taking your valuable time to talk about what an FAR does. As we alluded to, there are some really special faculty athletic representatives in Conference Carolinas, and you both did a great job explaining some of that story. And we can't thank you and all of our FARs enough for everything they do for Conference Carolinas. As I said, it's really special. And, you know, we look forward to seeing what comes out, because you're talking about now. There's a lot of stuff, as we alluded to, coming up in the future, and we're looking forward to seeing your great work come out, not just in the present, but in the future over the coming years. And thank you again for your time. We'll see everyone next time on Conference Carolinas Chats.